Hello everyone, Chris is here, and today is our last video on speed. The truth is, I had planned something completely different, but it turns out that technical difficulties sometimes create the perfect the perfect opportunity for exploring further and experimenting with something you hadn't quite planned on experimenting. So, what I'm working on in this video, and I'm inviting you to work on as well, is the change of speed in certain parts of the ochos. So, in the previous videos, we saw how you change the speed of the whole step. And now we're going to change the rhythm and the speed of different parts of the ocho. So it will be a little bit of a mental exercise as well as a physical exercise, and I hope you will enjoy it. So we're starting here nice and easy, just doing a few forward ochos, setting up the pace, finding a pace that feels comfortable to you, and trying to bring all these things we've been talking about the last 2 weeks into the practice today. So just trying to find that focus. It might be in the twist, in the side bend, it might be in the connection between the upper and the lower body. It might be in how the weight shifts around. And now, getting into option one, you have the opportunity to see how all of these things, the things that you've been focusing on in the past few weeks, get into this variation that's going to be a little bit mind challenging because you need to find the right timing for this change of pace to happen. So if my step is, you can see, aggressive and powerful, if I keep the same energy, I won't be able to slow down my pivot. So this is going to be the challenge, the timing. When does this change happen? And what options and choices we have to make. Similarly, if you want to speed up the pivot, it works in the same way. But just start going back to normal ochos at the pace that you're comfortable in. Notice when the pivot happens. Notice when it is that time to make the choice to pivot, because that is the most important thing for this exercise. And now we're making a step, turn, and the aggressiveness and the powerfulness is now more in the pivot and not in the step. But again, you don't want to change your step, because if you do, there's no differentiation. So again, we need to find how are we going to stop that energy that's coming from the pivot so it doesn't spill out into the step, and when is the time to speed up into the pivot. And of course, back ochos couldn't possibly be missing. We're starting again with a little bit of a preparation, just to notice any changes, any differences between the forward ochos and the back ochos. I know that for most of us, it's back ochos are a little bit more challenging. That makes perfect sense. So you might want to spend a little bit more time here, finding the pace, finding the connection, finding when the movement is created. And when you're ready, we're going for option one, slowing down the pivot. So our step still remains the same. And here I think it is a bit more revealing of when that change happens. So if you keep the same energy as you step, then your pivot will be too fast. And then if you keep the same energy as you exit from the pivot, your step will be too slow. So it is that gray area, right as one end, right as one of those two things ends, that needs the change needs to start happening. That's when you make your choice of making the change or not, and what type of change that is going to be, and how it is going to be managed through the body. So these are a lot of very important and serious questions. So you might even need to stick with forward ochos or with back ochos. Go ahead. And now going back to that preparation phase for our option two. Um, as said before, if you need to stick with one option or with one type of ocho, don't think that you have to do everything with one go. Stick with what you feel that you need to work on. Um, your body knows that already. Just listen for it. And if you are set, let's take a look of how that pivot right there at the end happens. So nice and sharp right there at the end. But that sharpness, it comes from that slow step. And you can catch a glimpse of it, of how that free lay comes in, and it's right at its end. It's like, let's go. It's coming, go. Coming, go. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe you can come up with a musical rhythm at the back, but try to find. This is all about timing. Is about when we make the choice, and of course how we execute it through the body. But when is the first question.